This video is about this guy and signs from spirit. Hi, my name is Katie and welcome to my channel if you are new here. I talk about all things metaphysical, spiritual, emotional, mindset, meditations, and all the weird and wonderful encounters, experiences, and lessons that I've come across. And today's video is about this little guy and how receiving this was confirmation for me that my dad, who'd recently made his transition at the time, was okay. Today marks the 10-year anniversary of my beautiful father's passing. It really rocked my family and I. His passing was unexpected. I was upset with the universe taking him away from me so soon, because I know, looking back now, I'm 40 and I was 30 at the time, that my relationship wasn't overly strong with him. And in fact, it's a lot stronger now, which sounds so crazy, with him, now that he's in spirit, than it was when we were person to person. After he passed, I stayed with the family, with my mum and my sisters, for a few more weeks. And then I had to go back home to my work and to my job. And I will openly admit I was scared, because it had devastated me so much and I hadn't experienced grief like that before. I was scared of going into public because I was in a customer-centric role. I was worried that people were going to go, "Are you okay?" And I knew that the moment that they said something, I would just completely break into tears because I was so overwhelmed with the grief. But you have to go back into reality at some stage. I was left at home with 2 dogs, and I have a very special place in my heart for animals. I don't know what it is, but they just know. And my dogs, they were very, very active, like hyperactive. If dogs could have ADHD, both my dogs had that. But for some weird reason, they were just calm. And I would have moments where I'd sit on the ground or I'd sit in the shower and I would just bawl my eyes out and just cry. And they would just be there and they would just be present. And I think pets are incredibly special for that, and they just know. I was asking daily to God and to Dad, please give me a sign that you're okay. Just want to know that you're okay. Because during the time that he was unwell and in hospital, I saw something that no kid really wants to see their parent go through, and I saw that he was scared. And I just wanted to know that he was okay. I know that he was no longer in pain, but I just wanted to know. I was already a naturally curious person. Like from a kid, I was into star signs, witchcraft, dare I say it, aliens, the paranormal. That's a story for another time on how that came to be. It's like Dad's death, Dad's passing just opened me wide up, and I just went on a quest for answers, for connection. For about 2 weeks now, I was like, Dad, I just want to know if you're okay. And every morning I take my 2 dogs around about 5 in the morning for a walk. And I woke up a little bit late this morning and I was just like, oh, I've got to still take them for their walk, but I've got to make this quick. Took the dogs from our usual loops, across this big park, and then we go into this bushland area where it's just all these trees, thick bush around, nestled in amongst the suburbs. There's a nice dirt path and they love it. And I'm pretty quick, like I'm walking and I'm about 20 minutes into our walk when in the bushes, something catches my eye and it's a little bit white. And normally I'm like, it must be rubbish or something. And I keep going. And I started to walk off, but something in me was just like, no, go back. And as I backtrack, which I never do because I was in a rush, there, nestled in the grass, was a shuttlecock. Now, we're in the bush, and the next house is probably a good 50 meters away. And this is a really rare toy to have. Like, typically you would have ping pong balls, tennis balls, frisbees, but a shuttlecock? When I saw it, I just knew that it was my dad. And the reason I know this is my dad used to play badminton. And one of our most favorite pastimes as kids was Dad would take us while he would play in tournaments, badminton. We even played badminton. It's not a very popular sport. So when I saw this nestled in the grass, without a doubt, I knew it was my dad. And this was his way of saying, I'm okay. I know without a doubt that that was my dad's sign. And when I told my mum and my sisters, they were just like, wow, like blow your mind emoji right now. Now, Spirit, I've got some more stories, but Spirit will communicate with you in a myriad of different ways. It can be through feathers, it can be rainbows, it can be butterflies, dragonflies, birds, through the radio, music, through literal signs on billboards. Birds, there are so many different ways that your loved one will try and communicate with you. And a great book for that is this, Destiny of Souls, or his very first book before this one, called Journey of Souls. I'm actually going to do a different video about the books that completely changed my life. Actually, that's what this video was meant to be about, but something in me, maybe it was Dad, said, no, talk about signs from Spirit. And I know this to be true for my best friend as well, because not long after my dad made his transition, her grandmother did as well. And the day of her transition, she just saw rainbow, like it was ridiculous. She was sending me all these pictures over the course of a whole weekend of all these beautiful, insanely beautiful rainbows. Just, yeah. Anyways, so yes, Spirit will communicate with you in different ways. Like, there are so many incredibly crazy, undeniable stories about people getting signs from their loved ones. And I'm going to share another one with you about Dad that comes up twice. I was the one that created my father's eulogy. I created a video eulogy with a collage of the different photos of him over the years that we played at his funeral. One of the songs that I used to associate good memories and a good time with was Queen's song, A Crazy Little Thing Called Love. And Dad, I could picture him, he would be in the van, just banging the steering wheel and singing to the top of the song, Crazy Little Thing Called Love. That was my family's song for my dad. Fast forward about, what year? In 2023, my family finally decided to come to Australia. For context, I've been living in Australia for 14 years. And life just presented us with too many challenges for them to come and visit me. But finally, in October of 2023, my entire family, my mum, my two sisters, their husbands, and their kids came for a family trip over here. It was such an incredible experience having us all together. And some of my family members were meeting my partner for the very first time. So it was a very special moment, and it was the first time in a long time that all of us had been together as a collective. One of the excursions and the family outings that we did together was at a place called Outback Spectacular, which is a dinner and a show where you sit around in this arena and there are horses, and it's an Australian story about like the drought and hardship and stuff. I highly recommend it. It was a really great family night out. But as you are going into the show, the gates open at 7 p.m. The show doesn't start till a little bit later, but everyone filters in through different registers. And as you go through the register and you get your tickets, they give you a Outback Spectacular hat, which I'll grab now. Ta-da! This is from the night. I'll wear it for this part. So they give you a hat, and just as you go into the waiting room where you can get pre-drinks before you go into the show and get seated, they have a photo booth. And I know this is a money-making option for them. They have this big backdrop behind them of like the Australian outback, and you as a family can get photos together. As we all got our hats and we all filtered into the photo booth room, there was live music going on. There was a young woman singing. And just as all my family gathered to get a photo, she started singing A Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Goosebumps throughout my whole body. And I knew in that moment that my, sorry, I knew in that moment that that was Dad saying, I'm here too. Because that was the first time since his passing that we were properly all together. It was undeniable, and my sisters and my mum, we were just like completely blown away by it. And my partner knew that that song was for my dad, so for him not being a deeply spiritual person, that completely surprised him as well. So that was one story. The next one was, there is this incredible book called Signs from Spirit, or Signs, and I highly recommend, if you are someone that has potentially gone through something, it's a beautiful, easy read filled with stories about how spirit connects with us and how you can recognize signs. The woman who wrote it was talking about when her father had made a transition. Their sign was Elvis. After he had passed away, the family were like, Elvis is the sign. He made his transition and they left the hospital. They all decided to go and get themselves a meal. When they went to the diner, there was only one booth left. When they sat under the booth, there was a very familiar set of faces. There was Marilyn Monroe, some other artist who I can't remember, and Elvis Presley. And they just knew in that moment. And she said a couple of other stories. I won't spoil it too much. But she was getting ready to talk at an event, and she was very, very nervous. And she said, Dad, because she was a psychic, she's like, Dad, I'd really love a sign from you now. Like, I would really love a sign from you. She was openly looking, hoping for a sign from her dad that was Elvis related. And so she stopped by a cafe to get a coffee. And there was a song playing. It was like more pop music. It was more modern day. So she was just like, I'm probably not going to hear anything. And then a song came on while she was waiting in line. And one of the other guys and he's like, wow, this is a really cool song. Isn't this by Elvis? And the guy said, no, you fool. This is Queen. It's a crazy little thing called love. And I was listening to this, walking, and I just completely lost it. And I knew in that moment that that sign was for me. In that book, there could have been a myriad of different songs. But the key thing here was, it was her dad had passed, my dad had passed. These were the commonalities. She had a song for her father, just so happened to be Elvis. But of all the songs that she heard, it was a crazy little thing called love. And I just knew that book was Dad's nod and his way of saying, you're on the right path, kid. I'm here, I'm with you. I'll wrap this video up, but I'll share with you one more sign that I've got from Dad, which was really cool. I went to see an energy healer, and before I moved down to the Gold Coast, I was living in a place west of Brisbane. And one of my members at the gym that I was running, beautiful girl, was telling me about how she has this amazing energy healer. And I'm a very curious person. I've been to psychics, transference healing people, shamanic healing, sound healing. Like, I've experienced a myriad of different things, which I'll talk about on this channel. I booked in with her. And I drove down to the Gold Coast, and a weird thing happened to me as I was coming down a hill. It felt like I'd driven through a force field, like a portal. It was like this just wave of energy permeated my body. And I felt like I had arrived home. And that's probably the best way that I can describe it. Sometimes you can't even have words for what you've experienced, but you know something shifted within you. I rock up to this reading. As I sat down, she said, you have a male spirit around you. And as I said yes, the light started flickering. And she goes, oh yes, that's confirmation. He's here. She actually told me that the male spirit, she described my father, or his type of energy, he's very playful, very cheeky, actually came and visited her the day before to let her know that, that I was coming. The moment that the lights started flickering, it just was such a surreal experience, because it was confirmation that my dad was there and he was in full support of me connecting with him. Now, I've had a multitude of different things, but those are the ones that really, really stood out to me. And yeah, if you have any stories or you've had any amazing miraculous signs from your loved ones, please share it in the comments. I love to hear these stories. I am just so fascinated with connecting with spirit. And I will talk more further in other videos about signs from spirit, synchronicities and serendipities, but I just wanted to share that one about my dad. And if you are going through a period where you have lost a loved one, fear not, they are the moment. Oh, do you know what? I'm just going to stop and just say this book, in the first section, it has, I don't know what you believe, but I fully believe in reincarnation. And if you've got this far in the video, basically there is a segment earlier on in this book that talks about what happens when a soul passes away and the ways that they try to communicate with you to let you know that they're there. And I just think it is so beautiful. It's such a comfort to read this. Highly recommend his books. Made me not afraid of death, and it's also made me understand what happens to our soul and the souls of our loved ones when they leave the earth plane or the physical plane. They're never gone, they're always there, they're always with you. It's just that they don't have the density of the human body. And remember, energy can't be destroyed, so it's got to go somewhere. They're always around. All you have to do is speak to them. Oh, one more thing. Actually, I will include the story. One moment. I'm just going to go run and grab it.
15 minutes later.
Okay. Okay. Last story, I promise, I swear. I was working at the gym at this time, and again, really wanted to connect to Dad. I was seeing psychics. I had the shuttlecock. I was getting crazy little thing randomly playing in places that I'd walk into. But there was a beautiful member who was slightly psychic that was an ambulance driver. And there were actually two of them. I'm just going to call them M and T. I'm not going to use their names here, but they know who they are. And we would have mad conversations. I realized I gave away the story, but we were having mad conversations about spirits. And at that time, I was really into crystals. And M knew that my father had recently passed. And he said that there are some crystals that you can use to help you connect with your family member. Now, this is true, but you also don't need to have a crystal to contact your family member. When they are ready, spirits can actually, and animals, any spirit really, can communicate with you through your dreams, because often our conscious mind, so much noise and so much going on, and they may be there, but because our brain is so filled with thoughts and worries and this and that and grief and anger and whatever we are going through, sometimes we're so distracted and we're so shut off that we can't feel them coming through. But when we go to sleep, our conscious mind also goes to sleep, and that allows us, our subconscious mind, to be more receptive, because we're like little antennas, we're little radio receivers, we're conduits almost, and we can receive information and messages all the time. And I'll go a little bit more into this in my intuition video, which I'll film in due course. But anyways, spirit can actually reach you through your dreams. And going back to this book, it talks about how they do it. Very cool. M comes in and gives me this crystal. It's a kyanite. It is my most favorite crystal. I've probably got about 50 to 100 crystals, but this one by far is my favorite. And I've accidentally washed it in the washing machine about 4 times and it's never broken. So this is my favorite. And the moment he handed it to me, I felt this, he gave it to me in this hand, I felt this like buzzing energy go through, and I was like, okay, cool. He said, put it under your pillow. I guarantee you within 2 weeks, you'll connect with your dad. I put the crystal under my pillow. The first night, nothing. The second night, my dad came and visited me. And although it was brief, and I've had many dreams with him since then, he was happy, he was healthy, and he was smiling. And the crazy thing is he came to me when he was younger, like when he was young and healthy and happy. And I remember waking up just going, wow, this works. Yes, kyanite crystal. There's so many different crystals that you can use, but I'm going to wrap this up. Otherwise, I'm going to keep talking. But thank you so much. And please, please, please share your stories. I would love to hear them. And thank you again with love and light from Katie.